Hello, everybody. All right, thank you all so much for joining us. I just want to make sure we don't get blinded with that light. Hopefully you all enjoyed lunch, and thank you for sticking around after lunch. Hopefully you all are caffeinated and ready to go. It's a pleasure to be here in the beautiful state of Hawaii. I am Deena Tearney, and I'm a member of our digital transformation team. And I'm grateful to be here on stage with our partners. If you learn anything today about Salesforce, is that we love our partners. We would not be here today without those partners who are on stage, who really work hand in hand with you all in building Salesforce, developing it, rolling it out, and making changes to really meet your specific needs. So we talk about technology all day, every day. They actually put it in place and make it a reality. So thank you both for being here today. You probably don't need introductions, but let's do a quick round of introductions. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, your firm, and also some of the great work that you're doing not only here, but also across state and local government.
Okay, great. Hello, my name is Deena Tearney. I am the founder and CEO of Pacific Point. We're a Salesforce consulting firm that's headquartered here in Hawaii, which I'm very proud of being a Hawaii-first organization. But we've also had the ability and the opportunity to expand outside of our state into other parts of the U.S. mainland, offering our public sector consulting services, and also into Asia Pacific. I think the fact that we're located here in Hawaii has given us a unique advantage to do work in Australia. We have an office in Australia as well as in Singapore. As far as about our company, we focus solely on Salesforce. It's all we do.
We do legacy system migrations. We do implementation services. We provide ongoing managed services across a range of Salesforce technology. And thankful to be here today. I will pass it over.
Aloha. Let's do that one more time. Aloha. Thank you. Thank you. I know everyone's eating, so I don't want anyone to fall asleep on me. My name is Devalis Newbern. I'm actually the Vice President of Customer Success for AST Corporation. I've been in this space now 21 years. I do see familiar faces in here, some back when I had hair, so it's good to see folk. So AST, we've been in the game now for 30 years, primarily working with state government, state and local. We also have a commercial practice. We are an enterprise system integrator, so we specialize heavily in Oracle and Salesforce, licensing and permitting, case management, constituent management. We're in the process of going live with a cannabis solution in the state of Utah, which incorporates both DHHS as well as Department of Agriculture. So we have a heavy footprint in roughly about 37, 38 states. And here in Hawaii, we actually, Dean mentioned this earlier, we're working with the DCCA on the business registration solution. So we are honored to be working here in the state and look forward to continued work here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for the introductions here. So, Deena, I'll start with you. You've built and established Pacific Point. It's been, I believe, 13 years now, almost. You've done a lot of great work across state and local government for those 13 years. And so what are some of the key themes that you're seeing that you come up often on in state and local, that, some of the common themes, and also how are you kind of addressing those themes as you're working with customers today?
Okay. Well, I think I'd like to answer the question maybe two ways. I think, first of all, there's a lot of great use cases that we've been able to help governments, state and local organizations really improve process, become more efficient, really look at how they engage with their constituents, and just drive a ton of efficiency and help them modernize. And it's been great to see the changes going from an MVP release, I think that was mentioned earlier, starting with a phase and really looking at that incremental improvement. And it's a proud moment when our clients look over their shoulder over 6 months, a year, and recognize how far they've come in that time span by continuing to innovate and continuing to invest in their solutions. I think the other thing that I've been noticing lately and talking to customers about is those customers that have had Salesforce for a while and asking me about how to solve challenges when it comes to user adoption. Traditionally, Salesforce kind of in the early days, by the way, when I started my career as a software engineer, I did CRM implementation, so this is what I know and have done for a really long time. But it was traditionally back then, it was always about the sales team and kind of getting your sales team to get in there and actually enter their opportunities. But now, I think even in the vast range of use cases that we have implemented on Salesforce for governments and local organizations, it's still a challenge, right? How do we get users to get in there and really adopt the things that we've invested in? And so what I like to talk to our customers about is really adoption kind of traditionally is like three different things. There's a gap between the way the system was implemented and the way the actual business operates. So what we really want to make sure we do is look at how does the business function? Because sometimes users don't use the system because there's a disconnect. It could be a lot of little things, or it could be it's a great system until you get to one point, and man, that part, it just really frustrates users. So when we can take a step back and help our customers who've had Salesforce for a while and say, let's take a look at that process again. Because over time, you implement changes and you don't realize, like, ooh, how connected am I with my users and the way that they do their day-to-day jobs? Things change, legislation changes, things evolve. So usually it's that one. That's one reason why there's adoption issues that we've been talking to our customers about, and helping them with a health check or an assessment to look at business process and how the technology was implemented and identify and help close those gaps. The second thing is training. It could just be as simple as maybe the system is very well aligned to the way the users operate, but there could be just a need for additional training. And so I think that's another area where training sometimes can be just, this is how you click through the system, but if we can help them evolve their training to be more about the why is this important for them? How can we show them the benefits from their perspective and how that aligns to the bigger picture of the organization? Those are the things that really help users get more tangible, get more understanding. And also, just refreshers. Sometimes people just need to be reminded of the things that were built. So continuing to come back with training can help with your user adoption. And then the third thing is the executive sponsorship. That's always so important when users really understand that executives are involved, executives are reviewing what's important for them, running those reports. I have one story. It's a commercial company here. We do a lot of work not only in public sector and health and life sciences, but also in financial services. There's a local organization we worked with in financial services, and we got through all of their user training, and their top executive, their president, said, I want to get trained. Of course, we're not going to go through the whole training, but we did a little bit, to help him understand what his team was doing. He actually would go in and chatter post with all of his people, and you better believe people logged in, they entered their data, they responded when they saw his chatter posts. So I think executive sponsorship is so incredibly important, and there's really creative and unique ways that executives can get involved. So it could be one or more of those things, or all.
I love that, and I wish we can preach that all the time, right? Because often those three things are missed in the beginning of an implementation. We need a system, we'll roll it out, and then after the fact, you'll realize that, oh, we don't have as much adoption as we expected, or we need more training, or we need executive sponsorship. So really spending that time up front and really investing in all that work and kind of making sure your users are brought into the process, make sure that they are well aware of what that change will look like, and of course bringing in the executives into the conversation, that'll just make your lives much easier down the road, right? So I love those three things. Thank you. And Devalis, this kind of goes into your area of expertise, which is all around oversight and IVNV and also building governance structure, right? And that really where executive sponsorship comes in. Tell us a little bit more about those items, which again, oftentimes overlooked in an implementation, and then after the fact, we look back and say, we wish we had this. Would love to learn more about your perspective on those two items, what they are, and the importance of them in the beginning of an implementation.
Sure. Essentially, this is something that I preach quite often at AST, and there's three areas, right, that typically will be the success, the catalyst for success on your project, or the failing point on your project. One being governance, another being the oversight portion, and then customer success initiatives that might come from your vendor. I'll start with the governance. To me, governance is ensuring that you have structure that aligns your IT objectives with your business goals. Without it, you don't have much. We've seen instances over the years where you have large 3 to 5 year implementations that don't have much by way of governance. It's what drives the how behind your projects, right? So when you kick your project off, how are we driving the business decisions? How are we, implementing properly? How are we resourcing, and managing resource allocation the right way? The governance helps you to provide structure and guidelines around that. Oversight in this, question, IV&V, I believe is so critical to, especially your larger projects. My background, I've spent about 6-7 years, doing IV&V over some of the country's largest projects, including some of the largest ones here in Hawaii. Hawaii is actually really good about ensuring IV&V is on engagements, and I applaud that heavily, as there are other states who have never heard of IV&V. It's the security blanket. In my opinion, it's an added measure of insurance to ensure that whatever governance and framework is available for your project or over your project, these individuals are specialized. They have years of experience to be able to call a spade a spade. Most system integrators, if they're good about what they do, they're not as nervous when IV&V shows up. But there are projects where you might have a system integrator roll their eyes because IV&V is that group or that body that's going to put you in check when you're not following best practices. So IV&V, the way that I like to describe it, is making sure that you all as state agencies or local are getting what you asked for, but it's also making sure that it's done the right way. Because just hitting the switch on a project is not good enough. It has to be done the right way, and that way, everyone is pleased with the solution once it goes live. The last part, and I'll wrap this up, is about customer success initiatives. We have to get back to a time when system integrators were responsible with how they manage the client relationship. So having vendors with strong initiatives that focus on the relationship instead of transactions, that's important. Being willing to build responsibly with the constituents in mind, your residents as well as your employees, that's important. Being willing to be accountable, that's important. And that accountability will continue to push the results. And it's a repetitive cycle. So without those three things, you're either going to make or break your project, and it's very important to pay attention to all three.
You brought me flashbacks of my Gartner days in IV&V, where you walk into the room and everything goes quiet, right? Because nobody wants an IV&V vendor in the room. But it is very important, and you end up saving a ton of funding and ton of money, and also a ton of headache down the road if you were to make that investment again up front. Bring in that trusted advisor to make sure that you are working properly with your SI. Whatever they are putting in place is what you're looking for and is a good fit for your organization, right? So I love that. You're definitely preaching to the choir here on the importance of that, so thank you. So Deena, I'm going to hop back over to you. But before I do, I'm going to just kind of poll the audience here. How many of you have mainframe legacy systems in place? None? No way. All right, so for those that are shy and didn't raise their hand, that's okay, and we don't have to admit it. But we know that is one of the most difficult undertakings, right? To be able to replace this 20, 30-year-old solution that's been there for many years, that everybody knows how to use and are used to using it, replace it to something more modern that will kind of shake things up a little bit, right? I know that's always a little intimidating and almost too overwhelming to even start. So Deena, I know you've been in the position where you actually worked with customers here on island and also off island to actually modernize those mainframe systems. So what are your takeaways? What's your advice to those that may be in the audience who are maybe thinking about it but not quite sure where to begin?
Thank you. And it may not be mainframe, so that's fine. But yes, I think it's the old adage of people, process, and technology, right? I think things start with the people, making sure that you have the right stakeholders involved, the right support, the right buy-in, the change agents that are there in place, because it's definitely an undertaking not to be diminished. And find the super users quite early, and just make sure you've got the people on board. I mean, that's a continuous thing. It doesn't just start from the beginning, but it really starts at the beginning and continues throughout. And then from a process perspective, at Pacific Point, we really believe strongly in our methodology that involves a process analysis and really looking at defining a future state process. But with a legacy system migration in particular, it also involves really diving into the existing data. The old data really matters because it tells us some things about their process that clients don't tell us. And so really taking a look at the way that they do, the client does their processes, the data that supports that, as well as, what are some things to improve. I think earlier someone was talking about, did you improve your entire process at a big implementation or even an MVP release? And I think my advice to that and my feedback is when you're introducing so much change, sometimes it's not great to solve every single process issue and manual step. Fix the high priority items, but come back and keep innovating on those things. And that brings me to technology. I think technology, when we work with our customers, I'm so proud to be implementing Salesforce technology. I mean, I think the fact is you move off of legacy systems because you need, think back, why do you need to even move off of a legacy system? It's outdated, it doesn't scale with you, it doesn't track the data the way you need, and you gotta maintain it a certain way. You look at Salesforce, you're starting at the business layer. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. You don't have to worry about continuous innovation in the product itself. It's upgrading for you every 3 times a year. What an advantage. So now you get to focus on business processes and changes that you want to make to improve the system. Cloud-based technology, platform solution, what a powerful technology that's going to help be more dynamic for clients as they continue to look into the future. And again, associated with that is the continuous improvement. Trying to solve every business problem, business process issue at the go live of a major release is just not realistic. But you keep your users involved by continually making improvements and enhancements to the solution, which also helps user adoption. So it's all kind of connected.
Pretty much don't do what Nadia did a few years back, where they adopted a solution. It took 2 years to even procure a solution, 5 years to implement, and then by then the requirements are outdated. And just start small, right? It is overwhelming, and that's okay. But really starting and kind of identifying those small little low-hanging fruits, roll them out, get feedback from your users, right? And then just continue to improve over time. That is definitely the key to success there. So thank you. All right, so Devalis, I'm going to go back to you. We're hopping back and forth here. We talked a lot about AI today. I know Rebecca's here. She talked about the data strategy for the state and kind of the role of AI and what that looks like in the future. I know you were at NASCIO earlier as well, about, what was it, last week or the week before? Would love to hear kind of what you gathered from that event and also what your perspective is on AI and how can a government agency kind of adopt AI slowly and grow upon it over time?
Sure. So this is always fun for me. I'm one who really appreciates the evolution of technology. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions. Who all, by show of hands, was born before the 90s? All right. How about before the 80s? Okay. All right. I'm going to stop there.
Stop there. Stop there.
I'll stop there. So I'll say this: The Simpsons was right. The Jetsons was right. Some of you all know the Jetsons, Rosie, AI, and here we are. We're in this place where this great thing, you can call it great. It's happening, and we can't avoid it. We've had so many conversations this year alone about AI, especially in government. The first thing that I would talk about is the education, being willing to explore, the potential of AI. There's so many different things just to date that we've discovered, we've been able to do so far, as it pertains to, to public sector, I believe the possibilities are endless. But it's not just looking at the positive, potential, but what are the things that we need to keep in mind? It's not to say that we have to tiptoe around AI, but we have to be, strategic in how we deal with it, right? And I think, the other part about this that we don't really talk about is the balance. There has to be a discussion around the balance in leveraging AI, especially, when we're talking about state and local government. Everyone's not ready for AI, and this is just, the truth behind it. I was at the airport before, coming here yesterday, and there was an older couple sitting next to me in Admiral's Club, and they were talking, consequently, and not by my force, about virtual reality and artificial intelligence. And I heard that it was provocative, and the husband said that it was of the devil, and I'm thinking, okay, well, that might be a stretch, but that's the world we live in. You're not going to have everyone embrace it. So we have to be balanced in our approach to implementing AI, across our states, right? I actually spoke about this last week, and so I won't give you the whole sermon, but there's things that I believe we have to do. One, establishing clear objectives. Being able to have roundtable discussions about, what it is that we can do, in state and local. And sometimes that might actually, require leveraging, a system integrator for those discussions. Deena just mentioned about, future state. It should be for us to be able to have collaborative discussion. It doesn't always result in a right now project, but just talking about it opens up the door for what's possible. Training, I want to make sure that I talk about training. It's important, to make sure that we're not waiting too late to make sure that our staff have the appropriate training around AI. Never want to be behind the 8 ball, in this space. Another thing, the data. Data is extremely important. Talk about, data governance. There's no AI without data. And I think, where we've fallen behind, in various facets of the business, whether it's in government or whether it's even in, where we sit, is preaching about the importance of clean data, structured data, the right way, making sure that we invest in data. Otherwise, it ends up being a headache for your CISO, your data chiefs, your CIOs. And then for us, it's a headache for us because if we're not preaching it the right way when we're trying to come in, and take care of our projects, we make misses on our end too. I think that's the accountability piece, that we have. And I think the last part is, just again, emphasizing transparency around AI. I gave the example about the older couple. When we're transparent, both internally within our own, zones, as well as externally with the public at large, about our intent, about the safety and security around what we're trying to do, I think people feel a little more comfortable. So I'll stop there. I think that's good enough.
That's great. Thank you. He is here after the event. If you want to hear part 2 of that answer, we'll cover that then. Thank you, Devalis. That's enlightening, right? And I'm sure Rebecca's ears are ringing with kind of the importance of data to support those models and support those capabilities, right? That, you don't have to go out and replace all your systems and roll something new out. You can keep it in those islands as long as you build that bridge. I'm going to use your words, Rebecca. Build that bridge between your islands, right? And create that one view of that information and use that information to make sure that it's clean and synthesized and harmonized in a way, right? So that way you can use it for some of the capabilities we talked about AI. So thank you for that. So Deena, hopping back over to you. Another concept we heard about today, and you actually got to see in the demo earlier, is this no wrong door to services, right? No wrong door to government. I know that was a priority a few years back at NASTIO when I went, and I'm sure it continues to be this year. What's your perspective on that? And I know you actually worked hand in hand with state governments on building out that concept. So please share with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the no wrong door, I was really happy with the demo this morning. It was so awesome to see the digital front door, no wrong door. I think no wrong door might have started in the health provider space, where people, like Melissa was talking about earlier, where someone comes for a specific service but maybe not recognizing that, hey, there's this whole range of services that this individual might need. And in that same vein, I think now cities, counties, and state governments are looking at how you can have that no wrong door. And we have a great opportunity that we're working with a city in the state of Colorado and really helping them look at how they can use data cloud and really understand who their customer is, feed that data into their CRM, and start engaging with them using things like Marketing Cloud. And I think what was great about that experience was taking inventory, as you said, all these islands of data. I mean, this city has hundreds of point solutions that solve very specific needs. Are they going to replace all of that? No, those systems are there, they're serving their purpose. To uproot all of that would be silliness. And so when we talk to them, we're talking about how do we bring this together and really understand who that resident is, so that we can talk to them in the way that they need to be talked to. And we know, using the data, through using Data Cloud as well, getting those streams of data in, as you saw through Brian, to really engage with their constituents in the right way and provide the right services to them. But I thought it was also interesting because a key part of this particular city in the state of Colorado had mentioned that it's not just about that, but it came up in an earlier discussion about the human element and the collaboration. And they gave an example about a fireman or somebody who happens to know Mrs. So-and-so and just helps her deal with some stuff around her home. And being able to collaborate with the other city services and let them know that those things are happening. Maybe that person's not providing the specific service or reading a specific app and looking at the data itself, but providing the tool that brings the data together so you can do something, but also allows the humans to collaborate and say something about it, and it's all there together. And I think it's an amazing use case, and I'd love to see some of these use cases come to Hawaii as well.
That's great. It is one of my favorite use cases, because oftentimes we talk about a customer 360 or kind of user-centric or person-centric approach to service delivery, and this is really it in reality, right? That one door to enter or really no wrong door to enter. So if a single mom goes to one place and she's not aware of any of the benefits that are available to her, she submits one application, and based on that information recommend all those programs that she may be eligible for and benefit from. That is the key to every message that we're trying to deliver today, and also what government is for, right? Is delivering those services more effectively. So that's very powerful. So to wrap things up, Devos, I'll go back to you here. We'll maybe hear the rest of that book in a second. But one of the other priorities that we've seen also at NASCIO is cybersecurity. And now with AI and talking about sharing of data and all of that, there's always the question of how do we make sure it's protected? How do we make sure that it's secure, that we're not sharing any PII or personal information? So please tell us what you gathered from that session, also what your perspective is, and what are some things for them for our audience to really take into consideration as we are investing in cybersecurity?
Sure. So, I'll speak outside of NASCIO. So earlier this year, there was State of the State that NASCIO had put on, and they talked about the top 10 priorities by our state CIOs. Cybersecurity was tied at number 1, right? And with, I believe, the citizen, the digital experience being, also with that. Cybersecurity, I believe, is spoken about, a great deal, but I don't believe we take it as serious as we need to. There's things to me that are, I firmly believe that if you can make it, you can break it. So if you can build a system just as much as you can build it, someone else can break it. So it's important to keep that in mind, as you all are embarking on, your new upcoming projects, things that you want to do. The framework always sounds great when you're talking with us as system integrators, but it's important to keep in mind those things, those gotchas, cybersecurity being one of them. So one of the things that I have initiated in AST as a partnership I'm one of the few who ruffles feathers quite well in the company. And we have a focus in cybersecurity with what we do on our projects. However, to me, it was important that, as we see, there's so many different things we've seen over the last few years by way of breaches. You all get those letters from, such and such company, we're giving you a free, membership with Experian. We never want to be in that position, right? So it's important to dot I's, cross T's when you're building these solutions. And what we've done is we've engaged this partnership with New Harbor Security. They are a very prominent security firm, in multiple states. They're the go-to for, at least that I know of, about 30 plus states. And so we are making it mandatory that even though Salesforce, very secure, AST, our work, very secure, but I'm not satisfied with that. So we're making it mandatory that each of our engagements has third-party pen testing, third-party advanced security. And these are things that, I would, encourage, each of you as agency leaders to consider. There's never a such thing as too secure, in my opinion. Because it's embarrassing when a state leader has, to address the public because of a breach, whether it's a guest user or whatever the case might be. And then on our side, it's even more embarrassing because that's our brand, and not to mention we have a $10 million insurance, deductible you have to pay. We don't want to do that. So again, please keep in mind that as you embark on your journeys, within your agencies on whatever modernization effort it is, please keep cybersecurity in mind and make sure that you invest the time needed and the resources needed to have a successful, implementation. And that dots the I's and crosses the T's right there. So.
And you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert to do that, right? You don't have to learn it all on your own. The beauty of it is you can bring in those experts in-house and partner with AST and others who really can bring that level of expertise and support you in that journey, right? So we don't have to be cybersecurity experts anytime soon, right? So that's very important. Thank you for that. So on behalf of Salesforce, on behalf of our customers here in the room, thank you both for all the great work you and your team and everybody does here on island and also across the country. Thank you for joining us today. And please, if you have any other questions for the team, they'll be hanging out back there. Please reach out, ask your questions and connect with them. We're just brushing the surface here with this conversation. There's a lot more that we can talk about, so please feel free to connect with them afterwards. And thank you all.